Hi, welcome to Everyday Movie Recap. For today's video, we will recap a sci-fi action film called Lucy from the year 2014. The plot revolves around a woman accidentally caught in a dark deal, who turns the tables on her captors and evolves into a higher life form. Have you seen this movie yet? If not, grab some popcorn and enjoy. At the beginning of the film, we are introduced to Lucy, a young teenage American girl studying in Taipei, Taiwan. She is standing outside a hotel with her new boyfriend, Richard. He tells her to go upstairs to Mr. Zhang's room with a briefcase. But since she has no idea what is in the suitcase, so Lucy is reluctant to help him. She declines to help him even though he insists strongly, but Richard abruptly shackles her wrist to the suitcase handle, leaving her with no other choice. Then she goes into the hotel and tells the receptionist she wishes to speak with Mr. Zhang. When Lucy looks outside, she sees Richard trying to be positive and smiling before he is shot to death. Out of the elevator comes a group of thugs who make Lucy go with them. Not long afterward, Mr. Zhang emerges and makes a phone call to a man who will interpret to Lucy. On a slip of paper, he scribbles a code that allows him to access the briefcase. But he moves on to the next room, where he orders his men to get shields and pistols, and has Lucy open the briefcase. Lucy opens the briefcase and discovers 4 plastic bags containing a blue substance. Returning to the room, Mr. Zhang's guys bring a drugged-up man to sit in front of Lucy and make him snort a little bit of the blue substance. When the man begins to giggle hysterically and convulse briefly, Mr. Zhang decides to shoot him to death. He then offers Lucy a job, but she declines, and as a result, she is smacked unconscious. In another scene, a scientist by the name of Professor Norman is speaking to an audience of hundreds with a talk about his studies on brain capacity. Humans utilize just 10% of their brain capability, according to his research. Dolphins are the only animals that use their brains more than humans do. They can track their location and communicate with sonar waves by using 20% of their brain capacity. Meanwhile, Lucy wakes up in one of the hotel rooms. As Mr. Zhang's men enter and give her new clothes, she is shocked to see a bandage covering her stomach. Following that, Lucy and the other 3 guys are brought before Mr. Zhang. Then, a British man enters the room and tells them that a bag containing the drug CPH4 was forced into everybody's stomachs in order to smuggle it to Europe. They plan to smuggle it around the globe because they think it's a very valuable synthetic medication that will soon be the next big thing on the market. To cut a long tale short, Lucy is cuffed and held captive in a room when one of the thugs notices something about her and begins to kick her in the stomach, where the CPH4 was. As a result, a significant amount of the medicine is released into her system when the drug bag tears. Lucy, meanwhile, seems to be flung across the room, even up to the ceiling, before collapsing back to the ground. Professor Norman says that when this is all going on, humans will be able to control every cell in their body if they can access 20% of their brain's potential. Humans will be able to alter matter and influence other people's thoughts if they are able to access 40% of their brains. When a man later asks Norman what would happen if people could use all 100% of their brain capacity, he says he doesn't know. Lucy soon wakes up, sitting up straight as if nothing had occurred, with her eyes glowing blue. Lucy tries to make fun of the thug who enters the room and manages to knock one out. She steals his gun and kills the rest of the enemies. Before departing, she also devours all of the goons' food. Though Lucy was surprisingly shot in the shoulder, she is able to causally remove the bullet without experiencing any discomfort. Afterward, having forced the taxi driver to transport her, she makes her way to the adjacent Tri-Service General Hospital. On the way there, she hears and understands all things around her. When Lucy gets to the hospital, she can easily read the signs because she can understand the language without prior knowledge of it. After that, she goes into the operating room where the physicians are performing surgery on a patient. But after reviewing the patient's X-ray scans, she shoots him, claiming that the tumor in his brain has already progressed too far for them to save him. While Lucy phones her mother and claims to be able to feel everything, including the air, space, Earth's rotation, and even the deepest parts of her memory, she forces the doctor to remove the bag of pills from her stomach. Before ending the call, she also tells her mother how much she loves her, seemingly knowing that her time is almost up. The doctors successfully remove the drugs and Lucy informs them that the drug's name is CPH4. The physician continues, expressing amazement that Lucy has survived this long, explaining that naturally occurring CPH4 is created by pregnant women in minute amounts during the 6th week of pregnancy to provide the fetus energy to develop. As Lucy returns to Mr. Zhang's hotel, Where he is receiving facials and tattoos, she discovers herself with supernatural powers. She kills his bodyguards right away and attacks him by stabbing him in both hands with knives. With the help of her newly developed skills, she uses pictures of the last 3 drug mules plane tickets to telepathically get their whereabouts from his head. Eventually, Lucy walks away from Mr. Jiang, who is screaming in agony. Afterward, she returns to her condo and meets Caroline, her roommate. In a matter of seconds, she borrows her laptop and begins researching her medical condition. Professor Norman's studies may uncover the key to her survival. Lucy gets in touch with him right away and tells him what's going on in her life, including how she's reached 20% of her brain's potential and is becoming cold and vicious. She uses her ability to manipulate technology to demonstrate her advanced skills, appearing on multiple electrical devices in Norman's hotel room. They decide to meet again after 12 hours. Prior to departing, she gives Caroline a prescription that tells her to adjust to her unhealthy lifestyle. Lucy alters her hairstyle and color before boarding the airplane because the news of her actions at the hospital last night has gone viral. She also gets in touch with Pierre Del Rio, the local police captain, to ask for assistance in locating the final 3 drug packets. After the local police use that knowledge to apprehend all of the drug mules, Pierre orders his men to find the mules in Paris. Lucy keeps up her studies while frantically working on her laptop throughout her plane trip to Paris. When a flight attendant requests her to switch off her laptop, Lucy ignores her and requests a glass of champagne instead. However, after ingesting the champagne, her cells become unstable and she begins to break. Lucy dashes into the restroom right away, where her body starts to disintegrate. She takes out the last of the CPH4 and takes them to stop herself from completely dying, but this just makes her pass out. Lucy awakens a short while later in a hospital room, where Pierre and a number of other officers and medical professionals are waiting for her. With a wave of her finger, she causes everyone in the hospital to pass out except for Pierre before exiting the room. She takes the ammunition out of Pierre's gun and asks him to bring her to the location where the drug couriers were once kept safe. As they travel, Lucy actively uses her power to see phone signals. She finally singles out G's discussion, Mr. Jiang's chief goon, and prepares to head to the hospital where all mules are being held captive. So she hijacks Pierre's car and speeds through the city to quickly get to them. But G has already made his way to the hospital with his armed men in order to locate the other drug mules. After killing them, they carry them into a room and remove the medicines from their stomachs. Lucy also shows up at the hospital just as they are planning to flee with the medicines. They try to escape, but Lucy, with her telekinesis powers, stops them and easily steals the drugs from them. After getting the medications from him, she tells Pierre to accompany her as she proceeds to leave the hospital. When Mr. Jiang sees Lucy driving outside, he gives the order for his men to pursue her vehicle. Soon after, Lucy and Pierre go to a university where they meet Norman and his associates. Lucy then begins to share all of her information, which currently surpasses that of a normal person. In the meantime, Mr. Jiang and his men enter the area covertly and begin firing at the police. Lucy talks about the nature of life and time, as well as how people's humanity warps their perspectives. She asks to have the contents of the 3 remaining sachets of CPH4 given to her. As a result, her brain capacity exceeds its previous limit and her body then turns into a dark substance that spreads over computers as well as other electrical items in the laboratory, increasing Lucy's energy from the substance and bestowing upon her remarkable power. The scientists are left standing in a wide area as she erases everything in the lab due to her increasing ability to manipulate matter. Not only that, but she turns every electronic item into a cutting-edge supercomputer. On the other hand, when Mr. Jiang and his men are unable to hold off the police, he gives Ji the order to use a rocket launcher to blow apart the door. With her newfound powers, she is able to travel thousands of kilometers to Times Square. With a wave of her hand, she mentally embarks on a space-time trip into the past, taking us from the beginning of the 20th century in New York to colonial periods, even prehistoric times, and finally arriving at the oldest known human ancestor, Lucy. Lucy gets a peaceful moment with the Australopithecus and they touch fingertips. Lucy then travels much further into the past during the beginning of the universe. Meanwhile, Mr. Jiang comes into the lab and aims the weapon at Lucy's head. When he fires, Lucy has already used 100% of all of her brain capacity and instantly vanishes into nothingness. Mr. Jiang fires his gun at nowhere, and she just leaves her clothes and the black supercomputer behind. After that, Pierre enters the lab and shoots Mr. Jiang. After some time, the supercomputer breaks down and turns into a black flash drive, which Professor Norman takes and uses to finish his entire research project. In addition, Pierre asks Professor Norman where Lucy is. Suddenly, he receives a text message on his phone telling him that she is everywhere. The movie ends as Lucy's voice can be heard saying life was given billions of years ago. We hold the choice of what to do with it. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy the movie. See you in our next video.